When you grow old and are left alone, do these things. Have you ever taken a moment to reflect on the essence of aging with dignity and intention? What unfolds when you confront the depths of solitude, the ache of absence, and the relentless march of time? This video transcends the mere passage of time. It delves into the profound journey of embracing the later chapters of life and experiencing them to their utmost potential. Meet Jack Thompson, a 62-year-old man who has navigated the spectrum of emotions that accompany aging, experiencing both the joys and the heartaches, from the loss of his cherished wife to the increasing sense of isolation as his children forge their own paths. Jack's narrative is profoundly intimate, yet it strikes a chord with countless individuals as we encounter comparable obstacles and victories throughout our journey of aging. What makes it worthwhile for you to stay and view this video until the conclusion? Jack's experience transcends the personal. It mirrors the shared journeys that countless individuals will encounter as they navigate the passage of time. As you follow his journey, you'll discover ways to navigate loss, forge new connections, and create a meaningful life even in moments of solitude. He gained invaluable wisdom from his relationship with Laura, a woman who entered his life unexpectedly and helped him navigate the complexities of aging with strength and resilience. Furthermore, Jack's narrative illuminates the challenging choices that seniors frequently face, such as the hard decision of relocating to a nursing home, and how to navigate these choices with tranquility, assurance, and an open heart. By the end of this video, you'll gain a richer perspective on valuing the relationships that truly count, embracing your independence, and seizing the reins of your life as you age gracefully. Regardless of whether you find yourself in your 60s, 70s, or even older, Jack's narrative will motivate you to embrace your later years fully, despite any challenges that life may throw your way. Seize the opportunity to learn from someone who has experienced it all and come out even more resilient. If you haven't done so yet, I suggest subscribing and tapping the notification bell to ensure you catch all of my videos. Your encouragement is invaluable, and if this video resonated with you, consider helping me share these vital insights by liking and passing them along to others. If this video resonates with you, kindly drop a 1 in the comments section. If you have any suggestions, please don't hesitate to share a 0 to help me enhance and create better videos for you. Now, let's immerse ourselves in the narrative. I had always envisioned a retirement where I could truly unwind and savor the rewards of my hard work. I had crafted my plans with great care, fully aware that the future would inevitably arrive. However, as life tends to unfold, it presented me with an unforeseen twist. I found myself retiring sooner than I had expected. Fortunately, I have consistently been aware of my expenditures, maintaining a firm control over my finances and setting aside funds for unforeseen circumstances. I was handling my finances reasonably well. Yet, an unexpected element emerged, the profound silence that now enveloped my existence. Once, my family encompassed everything I held dear. My son, Adam, and my daughter, Emily, have both established their own families now. Their lives are stable, and they are thriving in their unique ways. I felt a deep sense of pride for them, naturally. Yet a part of me yearned for the times when the home was alive with joy and the soft sound of tiny footsteps echoed through the halls. As time passed, the house became increasingly silent. The vitality that once permeated it gradually faded away. Several years back, my cherished wife, Sarah, departed this world following a prolonged battle with illness. The absence created a void in my soul that felt impossible to mend. As the years went by, my children, who had once shared such a strong bond, gradually became engrossed in their own hectic routines. As time went on, their visits dwindled, and with each day that passed, I increasingly found myself in solitude. One afternoon, I found myself on the sofa, enveloped by the quietude of my vacant home. The stillness enveloped me completely. The only sound that reached my ears was the rhythmic thump of my heart, accompanied by the faint murmur of life beyond my immediate surroundings. The rooms, once vibrant and inviting, now resonated with the solitude I experienced. A deep ache resonated within me, a sharp sting of resentment that I could not overlook. As I lingered in that moment, attempting to set those emotions aside, the phone rang. It was indeed Adam. His voice pierced the air, filled with urgency and haste. "Hey Dad, are you going to be home this evening? He mentioned that there's some urgent work, and he might not be able to come by." His tone tinged with concern. A flicker of disappointment stirred within me, yet I endeavored to keep it at bay. "I comprehend." Adam was navigating the complexities of family life, managing a demanding career, and pursuing his own path. He bore obligations. I didn't want to weigh him down with my solitude, so I responded with a feigned tranquility, "It's fine, Adam. No need to concern yourself with my well-being. Simply look after your belongings. I am doing well here." I ended the call, a deep emptiness settling within me. The world seemed to fade into the background, abandoning me in its wake. After dedicating so many years of hard work and pouring my heart into supporting my family, I now find myself in retirement, with Sarah no longer by my side and the children pursuing their own paths, confronting the silence all by myself. The void appeared to grow more profound with every day that went by. The next day, my neighbor, John, came over for a visit. John and I were of similar age, and we had always relished our discussions. Yet, on this occasion, an unvoiced weight lingered in the atmosphere. He settled next to me, and after a brief pause, he let out a heavy sigh. "So, it's just you in this moment, is it?" he inquired, glancing about the room, his gaze traversing the void that reflected my emotions. I gave a silent nod. His words lingered in the atmosphere, heavy and palpable. "Likewise," he went on. His voice carried a sorrow that resonated deeply within me. "My spouse is occupied, and the children are engaged in their own activities." His words resonated with a deep sorrow, reflecting the profound emptiness I was grappling with. John's reflections on solitude during this phase of existence resonated with a stark, unyielding reality that I found inescapable. "It's essential to ponder this matter. What if one day you're all alone?" he asked, his question slicing through the silence with an intensity that made my heart plummet into my stomach. The idea of being utterly solitary in this vast house, devoid of conversation, without anyone to see how I was doing, overwhelmed me with fear. His question lingered in my thoughts, echoing endlessly within me. What happens if I find myself by myself? What should I do? I attempted to brush it aside, yet it lingered, shadowing my thoughts. A few days later, Emily visited with her son, Noah. She prepared a selection of his beloved childhood dishes, perhaps with the hope that it would encourage a more extended stay. As soon as Emily entered, she hurried to clarify, "Dad, I'm just here to let Noah visit for a little while, but I need to head out to pick up Tom afterward." Her frantic tone, her eyes flitting anxiously, and the troubled expression on Noah's face shattered my heart. I attempted to smile, to conceal the pain in my heart, but it was futile. "Feel free to handle what you need to take care of. I'm fine here," I declared, yet the moment the words escaped my mouth, they felt hollow. Emily hardly found a moment to settle before she was on her feet again, hurrying out the door with Noah following closely behind. I lingered at the threshold, observing their departure, the echo of their footsteps gradually diminishing into silence. The house seemed to echo with an even greater emptiness, the silence wrapping around me like a heavy shroud. Tears brimmed in my eyes, and a profound sense of abandonment weighed down on my heart. That night, as I lay in bed, the earlier question resonated in my mind with a sharp intensity. What steps can I take if I find myself by myself? I was unable to carry on in this manner. I realized action was necessary. I could no longer float aimlessly through this serene, solitary life. A couple of days later, I rendezvoused with John at the park for a stroll. We perched on a bench, observing the world as it rushed past, lives unfolding in a whirlwind around us. I glanced at John, my heart burdened by everything that had been pressing down on me. "You were absolutely correct about all of it," I remarked, my voice heavy with feeling. I've been reflecting deeply on your words. At this stage in life, when solitude strikes, what strategies do we employ to cope? John acknowledged with a gentle nod, his gaze filled with compassion. He responded, I've considered that as well. We should take some time to get a few things ready beforehand. We mustn't leave our concerns until the very end, John stated with conviction, his tone steady and somewhat comforting. Ensuring our financial stability is of utmost importance. It's crucial that we have sufficient resources for food and necessities to avoid any hardships. I acknowledged with a nod. The reality was inescapable. Aging without financial security may turn into a harsh struggle. I had always taken pride in my carefulness with finances, yet I realized it was time to consider what the future might bring. Healthcare costs, urgent situations, and the uncertainties that inevitably emerge at the least opportune moments. John continued, without a partner or children around, it's our responsibility to look after ourselves. Those words resonated deeply. The truth was difficult to accept, yet it was the reality we both confronted. A wave of determination surged within me. Perhaps the future need not be so grim. Perhaps there remained an opportunity to strategize, to seize the reins, to craft a blueprint that would enable me to navigate my later years with grace and intention. Yet, it was evident that I needed to take action immediately before the stillness grew unbearable. If you're still engaged with this video and appreciate the lessons being shared, I would love for you to drop a comment below to let me know you're still with me. In solitude, one begins to understand that, even with the affection and support from their offspring, they may not always be present during times of greatest need. It's a difficult reality, one that strikes you unexpectedly, much like a chilling breeze on a pleasantly warm afternoon. We must embrace greater independence, he stated, and those words resonated profoundly within me. It's essential to prioritize our well-being, maintain an active lifestyle, and avoid solitude. It felt like he was addressing me personally. For an extended period, I dedicated myself entirely to my children, prioritizing their needs above my own. However, in that commitment, I overlooked the importance of nurturing my own life. Time slipped away, leaving me with nothing but a life anchored to the glow of the television, confined in a space that resembled a prison rather than a sanctuary. I existed, yet I wasn't fully alive, and the solitude gradually wore me down. The realization hit me hard, I could no longer continue down this path. My well-being, my joy, everything hinged on my transformation. It was all too simple to fall into the embrace of familiarity and allow the hours to drift by without a second thought, yet I understood within myself that this journey would inevitably result in a gradual descent into ill health and isolation. I simply couldn't allow that to occur. I decided to transform my habits, despite the initial challenges that loomed large. Every morning, I began my stroll to the park, a brief journey, yet it held its own significance. This marked a pivotal move in reclaiming authority over my existence. In the evenings, I discovered comfort at the community center, engaging in chess games and conversing with fellow seniors. Initially, it was uncomfortable, and I sensed the heavy grip of solitude attempting to draw me back into my cocoon. Gradually, I forged new connections, and I sensed my life growing deeper and more satisfying. Yet, in spite of all the fresh endeavors, an unsettling void lingered, stubbornly refusing to dissipate. Each night, as I reclined in bed gazing at the ceiling, the same question lingered in my mind. Who will stand by my side when I'm unwell? When I seek a companion to confide in or support me during challenging moments? The stillness in the room heightened those anxieties, and the deeper I delved into my thoughts, the more uneasy I felt. I had always found solace in solitude, yet now I couldn't dismiss the notion that perhaps I desired companionship, not for support, but just for presence. To partake in the serene instances and the weight of aging. Yet, a surge of remorse would sweep through me. My wife, Sarah, has only recently departed. Every move I considered in the pursuit of companionship seemed like a disloyalty to her memory. How could I possibly release her presence, her love? Despite my efforts to push it aside, the solitude inside me intensified with every day that went by. After a long period of uncertainty, I finally mustered the bravery to reach out to my longtime friend John. He absorbed every word with an understanding gaze, his quietude conveying deep meaning. "I understand," he murmured gently, his tone brimming with empathy. Following the loss of my wife, I experienced similar emotions. We seek not a crutch, but a confidant, a companion to navigate the peaks and valleys of existence, a source of encouragement in our times of need. His words enveloped me in a warmth I hadn't known I craved. He was indeed correct. I wasn't seeking a substitute for Sarah, rather, I was hoping to alleviate the deepening sense of loneliness that had taken root within me. Gradually, I started to embrace the notion of discovering a partner. And that was the moment I encountered Margaret. An elderly woman lived alone, her vibrant and optimistic personality bringing a refreshing energy to those around her. We formed a strong connection through our mutual experiences of being separated from our children, and the profound loneliness that accompanied it. Margaret embodied a daring spirit, a vibrant enthusiasm for life that I hadn't experienced in ages. She constantly ventured into the unknown, discovering new locales and engaging in activities that highlighted all the experiences I had overlooked. Her presence rekindled the joy in my life, and our dialogues, rich with laughter and empathy, transformed into a daily anticipation I cherished. As time passed, the bond between us grew stronger. We started to engage in more activities together. Shopping for groceries, preparing delicious meals, strolling through the park, and savoring each other's presence. Our bond was never confined to a label, and it thrived without one. The connection we had was sufficient. Margaret became my companion in every sense of the word, and our home, which had once felt so empty, was now filled with warmth, conversation, and the gentle rhythm of two lives intertwined. One evening, as I succumbed to a fever, I was struck by the profound significance of having someone beside you. Margaret appeared by my side without hesitation, her worry for me evident in every movement. She hurried to fetch me medicine and soothe my fever with a damp cloth, her touch both tender and reassuring in its attentiveness. She reached out to Adam, pressing him to bring me to the hospital. Upon Adam's arrival, he was taken aback by the sight of Margaret so attentively looking after me. His concern for me was clear, yet I offered him a faint smile, hoping to ease his mind. "I didn't want to cause you any worry. Your life is your own, and Margaret looks after me wonderfully." Adam appeared conflicted, yet his appreciation was unmistakable. He was adamant about escorting me to the doctor, and while it was merely a fever, the sheer act of receiving care transformed everything. That night, as I reclined in bed, I observed Margaret managing all the details with grace. The house had transformed into something more than merely a backdrop for my life. It transformed into a sanctuary, brimming with affection, warmth, and togetherness. The void that previously characterized my existence has been filled with something profoundly significant. I came to understand that the bond we formed wasn't about filling the void of what I had lost, but about discovering a different kind of affection, one that was gentle, unwavering, and soothing. It wasn't the fervent romance of youth, but rather a love that offered tranquility, safety, and comfort in the later years of life. Margaret had transcended the role of mere companion. She was the beacon that cut through my shadows, reminding me that even in our later years, solitude is not our only option. As time went on, the intricacies of existence started to reveal themselves in surprising manners. One day, as I was quietly going about my daily routine, Margaret received a phone call that would alter the course of her life forever. Her son, her cherished one, was tying the knot, and he wished for her to return and share a home with him and his new family. Upon hearing the news from Margaret, a wave of resentment washed over me, yet I struggled to maintain my composure. I offered a faint smile, attempting to conceal the sorrow that was gradually enveloping me. "Your son is getting married. what delightful news," I remarked, striving to convey my support. "Now is a wonderful opportunity to spend quality time with your children." As Margaret gazed at me, her eyes brimming with doubt, I could sense the turmoil raging inside her. Her voice, soft and delicate, revealed the depth of her feelings. "Yet, I've grown accustomed to this place with you," she remarked, the gravity of her words lingering in the atmosphere like a silent request. In that instant, I realized her heart was shattering, caught in the struggle between her family ties and the connection we had forged. The serene closeness of our shared existence had grown into a solace for us both, and the mere idea of being displaced ignited a profound sorrow within me. As I inhaled deeply, I focused on calming my mind, aware that it was my responsibility to simplify this for her. "It's important to be present for your son. As a mother, that is your rightful place. I'll manage just fine by myself. Don't concern yourself with my well-being," I replied, my voice quivering just a bit as I uttered the words. Yet, deep down, the burden of those words settled like a dense stone within my chest. I wished for her to remain. I longed to cling to the warmth and comfort of our moments together, yet I understood deep within that this was what she truly required. After days of silent reflection, Margaret resolved to go back to her son. I took her to the bus stop, my heart swirling with affection, melancholy, and acceptance. As she stepped onto the bus, it was as if a fragment of my heart remained with her, tethered to that moment. As the bus departed, I remained motionless, enveloped in a profound stillness, as if the universe had muted itself, leaving me in a void of solitude. Stepping back into the vacant home, the stillness enveloped me like a heavy cloak. It was a solitude I hadn't foreseen, a sensation deeper than I could have ever envisioned. I found myself wrestling with the truth of what countless elderly individuals often confront: loneliness. The notion of solitude in my twilight years crept into my thoughts, and tears brimmed in my eyes as I whispered to myself, grappling with the emptiness that had engulfed me. Margaret's departure created an emptiness that nothing appeared capable of mending. Every morning, I persisted with my routine, engaging in exercise and reconnecting with old friends, yet the void left by her absence was unmistakable. My children, Adam and Emily, still reached out to me, but their lives were busy, and I didn't want to impose the heaviness of my solitude on them. They had their own families and responsibilities, and even though they tried, I could feel the gap that had formed between us. Each time they reached out, I offered them comfort, insisting that I was okay, yet beneath the surface, I grappled with a painful reality. The solitude was intensifying, burrowing further into my essence. One afternoon at the community center, amidst familiar faces yet feeling more alone than ever, I caught a conversation that would alter the trajectory of my future. A gathering of individuals was contemplating the idea of transitioning to a nursing home. It hit me with the force of a thunderclap. Perhaps this was the solution. Perhaps this was the location where I might discover tranquility and a hint of belonging. The following day, I reached out to Adam, wishing he would comprehend my feelings. A lengthy silence lingered on the other end of the line before he finally spoke, his voice laced with worry. "Dad, are you really certain about moving into a nursing home? Doesn't that place seem chilly?" His words caused me to hesitate, yet I was certain of my response. "Adam, it's not about the chill. It's about discovering a sanctuary where I can genuinely experience lasting tranquility. Both you and Emily lead your own bustling lives. I wish to avoid being a weight on your shoulders. In a nursing home, companionship is always present. I shall not feel so isolated." Adam paused, and I sensed the concern in his voice as he vowed to talk it over with Emily. A few days later, they arrived, settling onto the couch, their expressions etched with worry. Emily began, her voice heavy with feeling. "Dad, we know it's tough for you to be alone, but are you certain that a nursing home is the best option? What if that place amplifies your sense of isolation?" Their concern touched me deeply, yet I understood the necessity of remaining resolute. "No need to concern yourself with my well-being. I have carefully considered this matter. I seek a sanctuary where I can embrace my later years in tranquility. A nursing home can be a viable choice. It's not flawless, but it's an improvement over solitude in this place. You each have your own paths to follow, and I certainly don't wish to intrude upon that. Their quietude conveyed much, yet after a prolonged moment, they consented. Dad, if this is your decision, we will honor it, but we will come to see you frequently, Adam assured, and I felt a surge of relief envelop me. This decision wasn't solely mine to make. Several months later, I transitioned to a nursing home located in the suburbs. The setting was enchanting, adorned with vibrant flower gardens, inviting activity rooms, and a delightful company of fellow seniors in my age group. On my initial day, I strolled through the yard and encountered Mr. Robinson, a long-standing resident. With a friendly grin, he graciously invited me to explore the surroundings. He brought me into contact with some fresh faces, smoothing the transition just a bit. That evening, as I reclined in my new bed, my eyes drifting toward the window and the vast night sky, a peculiar tranquility enveloped me. It lacked the warmth of home and strayed from the life I had imagined, yet it marked the start of something new. Having formed a few new connections, the idea of companionship, no matter how slight, lightened the burden of my solitude. Half a year went by, and I established my rhythm. I maintained a consistent routine of meals, engaged in physical activity, and enjoyed moments with my new companions. The overwhelming loneliness that had once haunted me was no longer a reality. A fresh cadence emerged, bringing with it a renewed sense of direction. While it wasn't the life I had envisioned, it was one I could embrace, serene, intertwined with others, and, for the first time in ages, brimming with optimism. Life had settled into a tranquil cadence, enriched by the uncomplicated joys of everyday moments. Engaging in chess, relishing the serene moments, and conversing with friends, those simple daily rituals had transformed into my refuge. After a lengthy absence, I finally experienced a feeling of comfort and security that had eluded me for years. Adam and Emily, my children, often reached out, their voices tinged with worry about how I was adapting to life on my own. They appeared to fret incessantly, despite my repeated reassurances that I was fine and lacking nothing. No need to concern yourself with my well-being. I attempted to calm their thoughts, yet beneath the surface, I realized they could never truly grasp the tranquility I had discovered in my own company. I had come to accept it, to value it, to find stability within it. Yet, on a particular afternoon, everything I understood about the world transformed. Following a serene lunch, I settled in the sunlight, savoring the warmth on my skin, allowing the uncomplicated beauty of the moment to envelop me. The phone rang, and upon answering, I was met with Adam's voice, crackling with a sense of urgency. A quiver in his voice sent a tightness through my chest. "Dad, I have some unfortunate news," he said, his voice trembling with restraint. "Mrs. Robinson has been involved in a car accident and is currently receiving care in the hospital. If you're still engaged with this video and appreciate the lessons, I'd love for you to drop a comment below to show me you're still with me." The word struck me with the force of a tangible impact. My heart raced, and for an instant, I found myself gasping for air. The phone almost fell from my grasp as disbelief rendered me motionless. I found myself gripping the edge of the chair, wrestling with the weight of his words as I tried to comprehend their significance. What occurred? What is her current state? I stumbled over my words, my voice scarcely a murmur, as the panic started to settle in. Adam's voice wavered as he attempted to speak once more. I received the news and hurried over without delay. "Would you like to visit the hospital?" It was as if the very earth had vanished from under my feet. The news of Mrs. Robinson, a steadfast presence in my life and someone I had grown to care for profoundly, was nearly unbearable. In that instant, my mind was blank, devoid of any rational thought. I ended the call, reaching out to the nursing home staff to organize transportation, my thoughts swirling uncontrollably in my mind. How could such a heartbreaking event occur in her life at this moment? The final moment I shared with her was filled with a smile and a gentle reminder to look after herself, and now here we are. The vision of her radiant smile lingered in my mind, and I found myself reflecting on the delicate nature of existence. Upon my arrival at the hospital, I spotted Adam and Emily waiting outside the emergency room. The expressions on their faces, brimming with anxiety and profound concern, instantly rendered everything strikingly tangible. With a gentle touch, Adam assisted me in taking a seat, his hands trembling ever so slightly as he led me to the chair. "Father," he uttered, his tone laden with foreboding. "The medical team is exerting all their efforts, yet the outlook remains grim." The heaviness of his words bore down on me. My gaze faltered, heart racing in my chest as I fixated on the red light pulsing above the surgical room door. All I could do was pray, clinging to the faintest glimmer of hope that Mrs. Robinson, the indomitable spirit who had impacted countless lives, would discover a path to endure. Time seemed to stretch endlessly, with each passing minute weighing heavily. Time appeared to stretch, the atmosphere heavy with anxiety and dread. At that moment, the door swung open, revealing the doctor. I nearly sprang forward, yearning for any tidbit of information, any flicker of optimism. "How is she doing?" I inquired, my voice barely a whisper, my heart lodged in my throat. The physician's expression was somber, his gaze weary. He shook his head, and a chill crept into my very core. "The injuries are quite serious," he murmured gently. "Brace yourself for the unexpected." Their impact hit me hard, rendering me speechless and dazed. I struggled to maintain my balance as Adam softly helped me settle back into the chair. The world seemed to whirl around me, each detail dissolving into a hazy mist. Shortly thereafter, a nurse appeared, guiding Mrs. Robinson's lifeless body down the corridor. My heart ached within me as I beheld her, pale and still, a mere echo of the lively woman I once knew. Once vibrant and spirited, she now appeared so delicate, so vulnerable. Seeing her in that state broke something profound within me. Air escaped me, thoughts eluded me. I instinctively reached out, taking her cold hand in mine, sensing the sharp contrast between her warmth and the icy grip of her skin. "Please, Mrs. Robinson," I whispered, my voice trembling, tears welling in my eyes. "I beg you, stay with me. We made a vow, a commitment, to share our lives side by side. Do not abandon me at this moment." I paused, wondering if she could sense my presence, if perhaps she would reply. Her eyes fluttered open, and for a fleeting moment, I allowed myself to dream. Yet silence prevailed. A solitary tear slipped from her eye, piercing my heart like a dagger. In that moment, everything I knew fell apart. I knelt beside her, my hands shaking as I grasped her hand, tears streaming down my face. "Please," I implored, my voice heavy with grief. "I beg you, stay with me. Your absence is unbearable for me. If you were to go, I can't even begin to imagine how I would cope." Adam and Emily lingered in silence, their expressions marked by sorrow, their eyes reflecting the same sense of helplessness that engulfed me. They understood that there were no words, no actions that could alleviate the anguish I was experiencing in that instant. That evening, the physician delivered the devastating news. Mrs. Robinson's condition had deteriorated. She had become quite discerning. I found it impossible to part from her presence. Not even for a moment. I remained there, filled with hope, prayer, and a quiet determination for her to summon the strength to endure. At one moment, her eyes fluttered open once more, and her hand, icy to the touch, reached out for mine. I grasped it firmly, reluctant to release my hold. That was everything I could muster, all that remained within me. Her grip on my hand tightened, slightly more than before, as she struggled, her breath shallow and labored. I could see the struggle etched on her face, the final flicker of determination striving to connect. "Mr. Thompson. Embrace a fulfilling life," she murmured, her voice a mere whisper, delicate and soft. With a final gentle breath, her hand fell slack, and her weary eyes drifted shut for the last time. A part of me yearned to cry out, to plead with her to awaken, to remain by my side for just a fleeting moment more. Yet she had vanished. In that excruciating, unavoidable stillness, I found myself immobilized, completely overwhelmed by the oppressive gravity of the situation. My heart seemed to splinter into countless sharp fragments, leaving me gasping for air. "Mrs. Robinson, please don't go," I whispered, my voice heavy with sorrow and laced with desperation. "Kindly, I ask you to stay with me." Yet, silence prevailed. The void left by her absence enveloped the room, chillier than the harshest winter's night. The words elude me as I attempt to convey the profound emptiness that engulfed me in that moment. It felt like my essence had been torn away, leaving only an empty vessel behind. Mrs. Robinson transcended the role of a mere friend. She was the final individual who genuinely cared for me, who recognized me in my entirety, and who loved me unconditionally. And now, she had vanished. The world felt harsher, more frigid in its demeanor, and I found myself navigating the subsequent days in a fog, a shadow that enveloped me, stifling any glimmer of happiness or tranquility. The sorrow was overwhelming, and despite the attempts of others to console me, it only intensified the sense of isolation. Within the confines of the nursing home, the days melded into one another. Everything felt profoundly hollow in her absence, as if the hours ahead were devoid of meaning, stretching on interminably. My friends and fellow residents observed the transformation within me. I didn't require them to utter a word. Their eyes revealed a depth of emotion, pity and sadness, unspoken yet palpable. They were there beside me, yet no soothing words could mend the ache that had settled deep within my heart. At this stage in life, losses carry a weight beyond mere memories. They are fragments of our being, elements of our essence that cannot be replaced. Once something departs, regardless of our efforts to bridge that void, it stays eternally unfilled. Adam and Emily frequently visited, accompanied by their little ones, hoping that the sound of their laughter and the purity of their innocence would uplift my mood. Yet, despite my efforts and my deep yearning to embrace their happiness, it seemed perpetually out of reach. My heart stood as a stronghold, barricaded by the weight of grief, and despite the abundance of love presented, it remained impervious to their efforts. I might have smiled, yet it was merely an empty act to convince them I was fine, while beneath the surface, I was far from it. The silence that enveloped us intensified with every day that went by, a persistent echo of the absence Mrs. Robinson had created. One afternoon, Adam settled next to me, his expression marked by worry. He struggled to grasp the depth of my grief, the reason I couldn't seem to let go, and with a tender touch, he attempted to offer me comfort. "Dad, I hope you can find some happiness again. Mrs. Robinson would never wish for you to experience these feelings." His words, though brimming with affection, pierced deeply. How could he possibly grasp it? He had not felt the profound sorrow that I had. "Adam, there are moments that defy expression," I said, my voice quivering. "Releasing what holds you back is not a simple task. You and Emily are still in your youth. You are still navigating your path. When a cherished soul departs unexpectedly, it's as if the very heavens have collapsed around you. As if all that you have ever understood is gradually eluding your grasp." Adam fell silent, feeling the gravity of my words. With meticulous attention, he extended his hand towards mine, enveloping it in a gentle squeeze. "Father, you still have us, your kids, and your grandkids. We will always stand by your side." Though his words wrapped around me like a cozy blanket, they fell short of bridging the emptiness within. The deep, suffocating loneliness that had taken root within me remained unshakable, impervious to any attempts to dispel it. "I understand your concern, Adam," I murmured gently, my voice just a breath above silence. "Yet, there are moments when the void within your heart is a depth only you can fully comprehend." A few days later, while strolling through the garden, seeking solace in the serene beauty of nature, I noticed a new inhabitant. He was an older man, his face marked by a deep sadness, his eyes burdened with the same solitude that had haunted me upon my arrival. A wave of familiarity washed over me, intertwining with his suffering. I approached him with deliberate steps, softly resting my hand on his shoulder, extending the solace I had yearned for in my own heart. "Have you just arrived?" I inquired, my tone gentle. "Care to join me for a stroll?" He gazed at me, and even without words escaping his lips, the gratitude in his eyes was unmistakable. We strolled together, side by side, enveloped in the tranquility of the garden. Silence enveloped us, yet words were unnecessary. A quiet comprehension lingered between us, an acknowledgement of the burdens we both carried through the passage of time and the sorrows we had endured. We were merely two spirits, drifting through the concluding pages of our existence, seeking solace in each other's presence. That evening, as I rested in bed, my mind wandered back to Mrs. Robinson once more. Her voice, gentle and warm, lingered in my thoughts. Her smile, her gentle touch, those moments had transformed into the most cherished memories of my existence, and now, they were all that remained of her. Envisioning a life devoid of her presence felt nearly impossible. As I shut my eyes, a realization washed over me. Though she had departed, a fragment of her essence would forever remain by my side. Their affection, their compassion, their warmth, all etched a lasting impression on my soul, an impression that time could never fade. For the first time in ages, as I rested in the stillness, the burden of my solitude felt lighter. It remained, though it had dulled, just slightly. Perhaps, just perhaps, that sufficed for the moment. Even though Mrs. Robinson's departure enveloped me in deep sorrow, the wisdom she shared with me throughout her life will always be engraved in my heart. She imparted a lesson that surpasses everything else, the significance of valuing every connection we make, be it with family, friends, or even brief encounters. These connections, whether modest or magnificent, are what occupy the voids within our souls. They infuse life with significance, offering us connection, understanding, and solace when the world seems too expansive or daunting. Every relationship forms a unique thread in the intricate tapestry of our existence, interlaced with shared experiences, joy, challenges, and affection. It's hard to shake the feeling that, in the absence of these connections, our lives would be significantly less fulfilling. They serve as the steadfast pillars in our lives, and amidst the fleeting nature of existence, they remain one of the rare certainties we can depend on. The day following her departure, I stood in the garden of the nursing home, the sun's warmth enveloping me, but my heart was heavy with an overwhelming void. In solitude, I found myself enveloped by my own reflections, as the soft breeze murmured secrets among the leaves. In that serene instant, clarity washed over me. Nothing in this life endures eternally, yet the affection we cultivate with others and the authentic experiences we forge together will forever persist. Those moments remain etched in our hearts, and when life storms arise, they become a wellspring of strength, a testament to our full lives, deep love, and the pieces of ourselves we've shared with others. That love, unwavering through the years, shines like a lighthouse in the night, leading us when we wander astray. I've come to understand that inner resilience is what sustains us during our most challenging moments. Even when life seems like an unyielding burden, it is this inner resilience, driven by our affection for others and the profound bonds we've formed, that pushes us onward. The renowned Japanese novelist Haruki Murakami once remarked, "I always believed that people age gradually." In truth, aging is not something that happens in an instant. In an instant, a day has slipped away, a year has drawn to a close, and in that same fleeting moment, a lifetime has vanished. Don't believe you're still in your youth. One day, it hits you that your youth has slipped away. The initial strands of gray emerge, and subtle lines start to etch themselves onto your face. As time passes, individuals inevitably age in ways that often elude our understanding until we experience it ourselves. It creeps in quietly, almost imperceptibly, and before you know it, you find yourself at a juncture in life where time appears to have eluded you without consent. The understanding that you prefer not to talk about your age unfolds gradually, akin to a subtle recognition that you have passed a certain point. With the passage of years, the burden of time becomes undeniable. As your parents start to grow older and require your support, you come to a startling realization that you have crossed the threshold into adulthood. The world starts to address you with a newfound formality, referring to you as sir or ma'am, and an unsettling feeling washes over you. In those moments, the truth becomes undeniable. You have moved beyond your youthful days. Some might wonder, what's so frightening about getting older? Yet, the reality is that once those words escape your mouth, their heaviness settles upon you. It's a soothing deception, a means to calm your mind and convince yourself that things aren't as dire as they appear. Yet, deep within, you sense the tears starting to gather, silent and unseen. The world hushes around you, not due to a scarcity of words, but because, in that stillness, it becomes clear that no words remain that can provide genuine solace. The awareness dawns that you've experienced a lifetime, yet in numerous ways, few truly grasp the path you've traversed. Amidst the multitude of acquaintances, friends, and colleagues that populate your life, how many genuinely grasp the essence of who you are? How many genuinely heed the whispers of your spirit? Ultimately, we frequently discover that we are solitary in our reflections, despite being in the company of others. The solace that individuals provide can frequently seem empty, a courteous act intended to occupy the void. Yet, at times, rather than filling the air with hollow phrases, we opt for silence. It's not from a place of resentment, but from the understanding that only we can truly grasp the depths of our own hearts. The stillness transforms into a hallowed realm, inviting us to attune to the cadence of our reflections and sense the beat of our souls. As darkness envelopes the earth and silence blankets the surroundings, a sense of tranquility washes over you, resonating with the rhythm of your own heartbeat. Solitary, indeed, yet not devoid of companionship. In that solitude lies a unique liberation, a soothing realization that the approval of others is no longer a necessity. Their concerns and viewpoints no longer burden you. You've learned to rely on your own instincts, to have faith in your character and judgment, rather than the transient views of others. Time passes, often without our awareness, and as the years go by, you come to understand that the clamor of life becomes more subdued. Not due to a lack of words, but rather because all that needs to be expressed has already been conveyed. Individuals, in their own manner, start to realize that silence frequently conveys more than spoken language. How many of those in your circle genuinely grasp the intricacies of your path? Hardly any. Sometimes, it may seem like no one is genuinely paying attention, but maybe that's perfectly fine. The soothing phrases frequently conceal the more profound reality, the reality we hesitate to face. Thus, you opt for quietude. In that quiet moment, clarity emerges, revealing a profound connection with your inner self. It is only in that moment that you can truly listen to your heart and your genuine thoughts, free from the distractions of others. Challenges frequently seem to overshadow any benefits we may have. Life presents numerous challenges, and at times, it feels as if defeat is the sole outcome. Yet amidst everything, we come to understand that certain forces lie beyond our grasp, and within that understanding, we find tranquility. One starts to understand that when you've truly put forth your utmost effort, you can stand tall, unburdened by shame. The self-respect you acquire is rooted not in arrogance but in a deep sense of humility. You acknowledge the kindness that resides within you, yet rather than letting it swell your pride, you bear it with elegance. Humility becomes ingrained in your being, enhancing your deservingness of respect. With the passage of time, one inevitably observes the transformations occurring within oneself. They possess a quiet presence, nearly undetectable on occasion, yet their existence is irrefutable. You've evolved with time. As the world evolves around you, a singular truth emerges. You have transformed into something beyond your wildest imagination. The passage of time, the challenges faced, the moments of happiness, they have all contributed to your growth. You stand now, more resilient, insightful, and attuned to the fleeting beauty that life presents. If you're still engaged with this video and appreciate the lessons being shared, kindly drop a 3 in the comments to show me you're still with me. The passage of time has served as an unyielding mentor, molding my essence, enriching my comprehension of existence, and, most significantly, altering my perspective on affection. At one time, I believed that love was straightforward and innocent, a concept easily illustrated by the sight of two individuals clasping hands, never parting, and aging together, side by side, for eternity. I held the conviction that love served as our steadfast anchor, impervious to the passage of time and the trials we faced. Yet, as time has passed, I've begun to recognize a truth, one that is both poignant and sweet. Numerous connections are transient, reminiscent of flower petals that flourish vibrantly yet wither far too soon. They are fleeting, often centered around the experiences we create together rather than the forever we once envisioned. Time flows with such rapidity that the boundaries between past, present, and future start to intertwine. We come to understand, with a subtle sorrow, that those who once appeared indispensable, the very foundations of our existence, have either transformed or faded from our lives. Even the most beloved memories, once vivid and brimming with vitality, gradually fade in hue as time passes. As you journey through life, you gradually grasp that its intricate beauty can bring forth both immense joy and profound sorrow. At times, embracing this reality seems utterly unattainable. Within the core of your being, you wrestle with acceptance, yet an unmistakable serenity emerges from the understanding that some things are destined to evolve. There are moments when what once seemed flawless begins to fade, and we find ourselves compelled to release it. The concerns that used to weigh heavily on your mind, the instances you might have dedicated to judgment or attempts at alteration, begin to recede into the periphery. It becomes clear that certain realities simply exist, and no amount of desire can change their nature. Life moves forward without seeking approval for its transformations. It just does. Individuals may let you down, and you may find yourself falling short as well. It can be difficult to come to terms with the reality that we occasionally invest too much of ourselves in others, only to find ourselves feeling hollow, as if our generosity has been overlooked. Those who once sought your support now seem to believe that your affection and attention are assured, as if they can depend on it without question. I have come to understand, at times through difficult experiences, that I need to show myself greater compassion, protect my heart with greater vigilance, and, when needed, adopt a more distant stance towards others to safeguard my own well-being. As time progresses, one starts to realize that disappointment is more than just a momentary emotion. It remains an ever-present ally throughout the voyage of existence. The deeper you invest your emotions into something, the greater the risk of disappointment you face. And yet, there exists a peculiar allure in that fragility, for it serves as a reminder that you are still breathing, still yearning, striving for something greater. Over time, I've learned that it's unwise to invest all your hopes in a single spot. Hope, while a formidable force, can also lead to profound disappointment. In this moment of understanding, you start to grasp the intricate balance between hope and acceptance. At times, it is essential to forge ahead with unwavering determination, yet there are also instances when it is wise to pause, inhale deeply, and allow events to progress naturally. Mastering the art of balancing hope and disappointment is the key. And when you embrace that, you release the burden of worrying excessively about the result. What truly counts is not the victories or defeats you encounter, but the poise with which you navigate through it all, and the determination to continue progressing with elegance, regardless of the obstacles life presents. Ultimately, after all that has transpired, through the love, the loss, the hope, and the disappointment, I have arrived at a deep realization. To truly evade failure, one must depend solely on oneself. Though it's reassuring to receive support from others, there exists a profound, subtle power in self-reliance, in the understanding that ultimately, you are your own steadfast companion. In moments of uncertainty, when solitude envelopes you, the depths of your strength will reveal themselves in ways you never imagined. This is the time to elevate yourself, not out of obligation, but because you come to understand that the power has always resided within you. And that, above all else, is the most valuable offering you can bestow upon yourself. As we conclude this reflection, I encourage you to ponder thoughtfully on the insights you've gained from these life experiences. The passage of time imparts invaluable lessons on love, loss, hope, and the remarkable resilience that resides within us. What has struck a chord with you the most today? What is the key takeaway you will carry forward, and how do you intend to apply it in your own life? I would be eager to know your insights. Kindly share a lesson you've gained and how it will shape your future actions in the comments below. Your reflections have the power to motivate and uplift those who share a similar path. If you found this video enjoyable, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Also, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content. I appreciate your time and can't wait to connect with you in the next video.